currently I'm in a level 5 in Toastmasters Pathway educational program. And in this particular project, basically what they're asking you to do is to take a leadership position in any volunteering organization. In my case, it was Toastmasters, of course. Serve as a leader for about 6 months or more, and then just share what did you learn and what new things you acquired, skills, thoughts, whatever it is will be. When I read through the manual, I was thinking that, oh, well, it's actually easy because at this point I already have some experience which I would love to share. There is this thing and that thing. But then at the same time, I felt quite stupefied because where do you even start? I've been here for 2 years and now they're asking me, so what did you learn? And I have this whole list of things, and those are very broad things. It's not that, I learned 5 best ways to give a speech or 3 ways to be a best leader. It's not like that. It's much more complex and too hard to explain in a couple of words. And then I have only 7 minutes, right? So where do I start? While I was thinking about that, I also considered all the things I actually have done. I started to look back into my past as a Toastmasters and speeches I've done, the leadership positions I had. And I realized that there is so many different experiences. For example, one of the good ways that I learned public speaking was through the books. And here I just decided to give you a couple of examples. There is the book by Dale Carnegie, The Quick and Effective Way to Make Friends. There are books, First Jobs, where the author talks about the very famous leaders and their first jobs, which is usually a dishwasher, or there is like a super famous guy who was digging graves and stuff like that. And then there is a better way to think, and there is a harder than I thought. And all those books are about management and leadership. And then there are more electronic books, then there are audio books which I listen, then there are manuals I've read. And believe it or not, here I also have the folder which is full of Toastmasters stuff. It says Toastmasters. That's my personal folder where I keep everything related to Toastmasters. And this particular stack is all the evaluations I received and read and considered when I was doing my speeches and trying to improve. So this is just such a little piece of everything I learned, right? There are books upon books, there are evaluations, there are speeches, there are conferences I attended and speeches I've listened online in order to improve my own. And then still I was thinking, so what did I learn? And I still couldn't put it in words. Because let's describe it this way. For the first 6 months after I joined Toastmasters, I realized that I became a little bit more judgmental towards other people. Because I realized that, now I'm not using as many clutch words. I am so good at it, and it's so easy. And then I hear all these people saying likes and so's and buts, and I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. But then within the next 6-12 months after that, I changed my behavior again, because I realized that instead of actually listening, I was more like judging people. So I started to give people kind of break and actually try to listen and hear what exactly they say, because not all of us have the ability to speak. There are a lot of people who are speaking English as their not first language. I became much more compassionate and much more patient when I was listening to other people. So there wasn't a one thing I learned or a couple of things. It was more like a cycles of things I've learned. Because again, there is just way too many things which I considered at the moment, I thought they're important, then they became not as important, then they changed and my opinion changed. And all of this can be described in a very simple phrase: fail, fail again, fail better. And that's, I think, pretty much, it's actually a title of the book, which is very catchy and it's on my list, but I haven't read it yet. But when I read the title, I realized that that's exactly what I did in Toastmasters. I failed again and again, and many times I failed before I realized what mistakes I'm making and how to improve. So when I'm thinking of Toastmasters and leadership positions and how I improved and what I learned, it's mostly about the failing part, which is interesting. Because here, when you fail, you don't hear that judgmental feedback well, how do you call it? I forgot the word.
Is it constructive criticism?
Here you go. Oh wow. Whoa. Yes, here you hear constructive criticism instead of this judgment. Here in Toastmasters, you realize that there is so many different ways to do exactly the same thing, which is giving a speech. You'll hear a lot of different speakers, you'll hear a lot of different evaluations, and they all do something differently. And you always learn again and again little new bits of information which come from everywhere around you. And once again, it is just so hard to explain until you get into this vibe. Because that's how learning really goes in any field of life. You fail, then you come back, then you fail again, and then you just get better over time. Because it all comes with practice, with repetition, with preparation, and that's what you gradually gets better at. By coming over and over and trying yourself and failing and then getting better. Mr. Toastmaster.